As your sheriff, I take full accountability for this failure.
From someone in the community about notification and communication.
Good morning, Council. Because of the complexity.
Today, New Orleans City Council members spent hours grilling Sheriff Susan Hudson about the jailbreak at the Orleans Justice Center, where 10 inmates escaped. Council members questioned the sheriff about the delayed response, the lack of communication, and the lack of funding that may have contributed to the escape. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. We'll get to that meeting in just a moment. But first, the latest on the manhunt and that investigation. 4 escapees are now in custody after the 4th. Gary Price was caught yesterday. We brought that to you as breaking news last night. State police say those 4 inmates were transferred to the Angola State Prison. NOPD says the remaining 6 are likely still somewhere in the city. Meanwhile, we're learning more about the alleged inside man, the jail maintenance worker who was arrested, and his alleged role in the jailbreak.
Yeah, Paul Murphy's joining us live now with those details. Paul?
Katie, Sharice, law enforcement sources have been telling us that it is doubtful that 10 inmates could escape from the Orleans Justice Center without help from inside. And tonight we're learning that may have been the case. A maintenance worker at the Orleans Justice Center is now facing serious charges. Investigators said he has confessed to helping 10 inmates escape from the jail. According to court documents obtained by WWL Louisiana, 33-year-old Sterling Williams told investigators he turned the water off from the outside pipe walk area on the exterior of cell 6. Using an unknown apparatus, the inmates then sawed through steel bars behind the sink toilet unit, removed the unit, and escaped. Tuesday, Sheriff Susan Hudson, who runs the jail, told members of the New Orleans City Council there were procedural failures, missed notifications, and intentional wrongdoings.
This was a coordinated effort aided by individuals inside our own agency who made the choice to break the law.
Hudson also revealed several OPSO employees have been suspended without pay, and more disciplinary actions are under review.
One arrest has been made, and we are continuing to pursue everyone involved, and that investigation is active and ongoing.
According to investigative documents, William claimed he acted under orders from escaped inmate Antoine Massey, who allegedly threatened to shank him if he refused. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrow isn't buying that defense.
I think that he made some bad decisions. I mean, I don't think that he had to do any of the things that he did. And, you know, if he was under threat, then he certainly should have brought that to someone else's attention.
Williams has been booked with 10 counts of principal to simple escape and 1 count of malfeasance in office. Both charges are felonies.
Our intent is to make sure that this never happens again. And so, you know, we're going to look at all the things that we need to do to change those conditions, and at the same time hold everyone accountable that may have been involved before, during, and after.
And AG Murrow also emphasized that this investigation will eventually uncover all of the facts, and she warned anyone caught aiding and abetting these escapees will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We're live outside the Orleans Justice Center. Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.
Thanks so much, Paul. And just a little while ago, Sterling Williams made his first appearance at Criminal District Court.
Lily Cummings was at that hearing. She's joining us now live from the courthouse. Lily, what is his bond?
Katie, Sharice, a judge set his bond at $100,000 per count. As Paul just mentioned, with 11 counts, that brings the total to $1.1 million. Now, Sterling Williams was not physically in court today. Rather, he appeared over video call from inside the jail. Now, public defenders representing Williams argued for a lower bond, saying he was employed with OPSO for 5 years with no incident. They also mentioned he's a George Washington Carver graduate and has no criminal history. Prosecutors said despite no criminal history, the severity of the crime aiding the escape of those 10 inmates justifies a higher bail. If he is able to bond out, the judge says he will be on 24/7 ankle monitoring and house arrest. Now, we did learn today also that the judge is setting that next hearing for Williams for the afternoon of June 17th here at Criminal District Court. Reporting live, Lily Cummings, WWL Louisiana.
All right, Lily, thank you so much for that update. And as we said, 6 inmates, they're still on the run this evening, and today Sheriff Susan Hudson said the jail needs more funding to prevent future escapes.
And while she said the community deserves answers and action, she also pointed to a faulty facility as the reason that those escapes happened. And Alyssa Curtis was at that hours-long meeting in City Council chambers. Alyssa, what is the sheriff saying that they need the money for?
Yeah, the sheriff says that the facility needs to be hardened today, and they need to fix some infrastructure issues. But some council members are hesitant, saying there's a lack of transparency.
The escape of 10 individuals from the Orleans Justice Center is unacceptable.
4 days after 10 inmates escaped the Orleans Justice Center, Sheriff Susan Hudson took responsibility.
As your sheriff, I take full accountability for this failure.
Not long after, though, she blamed the budget.
What happened last week was a crisis, but the conditions that made it possible are not new.
Hudson asked the city council for more money, saying the facility needs to be hardened today. But council members say there's a lack of transparency as to where the money is going.
The law is clear. The sheriff runs it, the council pays.
When you say jump, you want to say how high. If you're in the same system as every other department and you have a need and we can compare it with every other department to the same needs, then we can look at that accountability and make moves.
According to the council and the sheriff, OPSO is on a different system than much of the city. Council President JP Morrell says that means they can't see how much money OPSO has and where it's being spent.
When we don't know exactly how much money you're spending, how much money you have out, how much money you have in, the conversations get real murky.
OPSO says they have about $235,000 in a special fund, but says they want to save it for an emergency. But Council Vice President Helena Moreno says this would constitute as an emergency.
If every dollar really matters, then every dollar should really matter towards securing this prison, securing this jail.
OPSO officials say they've already redirected some money to capital projects. While the council decides if they'll allocate more money, Criminal Justice Committee Chair Oliver Thomas said the budget is a valid point of blame for the escape.
When you have questions about locks, when you have questions about soft spots and lack of security, absolutely.
Attorney General Liz Murrell says the jail isn't necessarily decrepit.
I would like to take a look at the funding and compare it to other prisons.
She says, though, the jail should have the capacity to handle higher security inmates. Hudson says they've also asked the State Department of Corrections for more funding. She says they haven't gotten an answer yet, but they were offered more personnel as well as help from the AG's office in prosecuting inmates faster.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Well, the timeline of last week's jailbreak was a hot topic at City Hall today. Council members grilled Sheriff Susan Hudson about why it took her office 8 hours to realize 10 inmates were missing. Hudson placed some blame on staffing and infrastructure issues. And the sheriff also said the jail's morning rounds started late. OPSO identified the breach around 8:45 Friday morning, but NOPD says they weren't notified until after 10. And Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says when she finally got that call, it wasn't from the sheriff.
None of us knew. We quickly kind of looked at each other and said, let's verify this. One of the other chiefs picked up the phone and said, well, it's in the media. So it was at this time that we were notified, but we were notified through our captain.
It was not immediately clear that an external breach had occurred. So when we have to search this facility with 1,400 people in it, 24 pods, 24 pipe chases, which are the areas behind the pods, that takes a minute to be able to do. You also can't give out false information about who's missing.
Well, the sheriff's office also introduced an action plan addressing notification issues. We'll, of course, talk more about that coming up at 6 o'clock.
A New Orleans resident caught the moment escaped inmate Gary Price was taken into custody. Check it out. You can see it in this video when officers arrested him. You can see a SWAT truck parked on the front lawn of a home on Good Drive in New Orleans East. And there are all the law enforcement officers around. Authorities with those weapons drawn that you're seeing there. They surround the home. Residents say it was vacant. Tonight, Price is back in Angola, and state police say he'll be booked for simple escape. Price was in the Orleans Parish jail for charges of attempted first-degree murder, domestic abuse, and aggravated assault. Again, 6 inmates still on the run tonight. Many of them have either been charged with violent offenses like murder, domestic abuse, and battery and robbery even. You can see their pictures on your screen right now, so call police if you see them. We will continue to provide you updates on the investigation right here on Channel 4. You can also check out our website, WWLTV.com, or our free TV app, WWL+.